dedicated to eastern and southern Kentucky. This is WYMT Mountain News First at 4.
Good afternoon, I'm Steve Hensley. First at 4, as we continue to follow the manhunt for Joseph Couch, we have learned some new information. As we first reported yesterday, WYMT has obtained the affidavit, which includes text messages Couch sent on the day of the shooting, saying he did have a plan. WYMT's Amelia Lee has been in Laurel County. And Amelia, what have you learned today?
Well, Steve, I've learned that the reward amount has gone up for information that can find Joseph Couch. $35,000 now is the pool of that money. $10,000 from an anonymous donor, another $10,000 from an anonymous donor, $10,000 more we also have from the United Way of Laurel County, as well as an extra $5,000 from Crime Stoppers of Laurel County as well. So that's $35,000. And I talked to community members who tell me that having this bigger pool of money is making them feel a little bit better about the search efforts going on right now. Officials still say, as they search for the suspect, Joseph Couch, the terrain they are searching, parts of the Daniel Boone National Forest, have just been unforgiving, similar to a jungle. That's what they say. People in the community tell me that they still hope Couch will be found as soon as possible, especially here on day 4 of this search. It's also day 2 of schools closing because of the manhunt that has been continuing. Today, I was able to speak to an EMT and to a critical care paramedic, both of whom responded in ambulances on Saturday night. They tell me going out to I-75 at the scene is a moment they will never forget.
My first thought was we need to get in, get our patient, and leave. We kind of felt like sitting ducks. We didn't really know all the details. Of course, we found out more details later on, but just being on scene at the time, you had an eerie feeling.
As I walked the streets of Laurel County and London today, I was able to talk to community members as well as people from out of state who were on I-75 when this shooting happened. They tell me right now all their hope is that Couch will be found. They also say they're doing what they can to stay safe by locking their doors and staying in as much as possible. In Laurel County, Amelia Lee, WYMT Mountain News.
All right, Amelia, thank you very much. Of course, many schools in Laurel and surrounding counties have been closed the last few days, and we're still waiting to hear on decisions tomorrow. And again, out of that news conference that we carried live here on WYMT about an hour ago, law enforcement officials say there is still no evidence that Couch has left the wooded area near where this shooting occurred. They've said they've had thousands of tips, they've checked them all, but again, there's no concrete evidence that he has left that area, and they wouldn't speculate on whether they believe he might have committed suicide or is alive or dead. Of course, we'll continue to follow this manhunt, and we'll have more about this, including an interview with a neighbor of Couch's coming up in our next half hour.
Well, as advertised, we had temperatures in the 70s and 80s after another chilly start across portions of eastern Kentucky. Numbers for this morning played out like this. Dropped down to 43 in Hazard, 46 Manchester, 47 London, 49 in Harlan. Grundy made it to 50, 47 was the overnight low in Lexington. And right now we're seeing temperatures in the low to mid 80s. Lexington shot up to 84, 81 is the current temperature in Irvin, as well as Moorhead, as well as Hazard, 80 in Jackson, 82 London. Jacksboro just switched over to 82, 83 is the current temperature in Middlesboro, as well as Harlan. Here's the latest with live pinpoint Doppler radar. All is quiet across the area, and this will be the trend for the most part on Wednesday and somewhat on Thursday. It's when we get into Thursday that rain chances will start to pick up. But the next 12 hours, get out and enjoy it. 74 by the 7 o'clock hour, 60 by 1 a.m., 56 by the 5 o'clock hour. I'll have your complete first alert forecast in a few minutes. Steve?
Eric, thank you. Officials in one eastern Kentucky city are continuing to find ways to bounce back from the July 2022 flood. WYMT's RJ Johnson has that story from Wayland.
More than 2 years after devastating flooding ripped through Wayland, officials are continuing to look at ways to not only recover and rebuild, but to prevent future flooding and lessen the impact Mother Nature could have. Mayor Jerry Foltz says they have been working on several projects to help them toward their goal of keeping folks in the area.
Bringing the Corps of Engineer in and FEMA, Kentucky Emergency Management. So we're looking for ways. Obviously, we have the railroad tracks kind of on the, I guess, the western side of town, and kind of serves as a barrier. But this most recent flooding back in 22, it actually came over the railroad tracks.
Foltz says the town has bounced back with a couple of small businesses thriving. However, he says a lot more still needs to be done. In Wayland, RJ Johnson, WYMT Mountain News.
Foltz says some of these projects have been in the works since before the flooding happened in 2022. The Belfry community in Pike County is mourning after the line of duty death of one of its volunteer firefighters. Daryl Helton has been a firefighter in Belfry for 15 years, serving his community until last week when he collapsed while assisting a neighboring department with a structure fire. Efforts to resuscitate Helton were unsuccessful and he died Thursday, leaving behind a family, friends, and a force full of firefighters who will now keep his memory alive on the front line.
It's a huge loss to our department, our community. He took great pride in everything that he did.
We'll have more about his life and legacy coming up on Mountain News at 6.